This week on the Rental Report Review. In this first film of the Lone Wolf and Cub series, Ogami Ito has been framed for disloyalty to the shogunate by the Yagyu clan, against whom he is now waging a one-man war, along with his infant son, Daigoro. Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, 1972. Ogami Ito battles a group of female ninja in the employ of the Yagyu clan, and must assassinate a traitor who plans to sell his clan's secrets to the shogunate. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart on the River Styx, 1972. Ogami Ito volunteers to be tortured by Yakuza to save a prostitute and is hired by their leader to kill an evil chamberlain. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart to Hades, 1972. Ogami Ito is hired to kill a tattooed female assassin and battles Retsudo, head of the Yagyu clan, and his son Gunbei. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in Peril, 1972. Ogami Ito is challenged by 5 warriors. Each has 1/5 of Ogami's assassin fee and 1/5 of the information he needs to complete his assassination. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, 1973. In the 6th and final film of the Lone Wolf and Cub series, the final conflict between Ogami Ito and the Yagyu clan is carried out. Lone Wolf and Cub, White Heaven and Hell, 1974. If you're following the Rental Report review with any sort of regularity, you'll no doubt have seen that I just covered this film a couple of weeks ago. So instead of just copy-pasting, retreading, I wanted to take a couple of quick steps back and rock it through some personal context. I am a product of the Star Wars to Kurosawa pipeline. I was so enamored with the original Star Wars trilogy, so much so that when I discovered that it was made by people, not some artifact of the collective unconscious ether, I decided to become a filmmaker. And when I found out that it was inspired by some guy named Akira Kurosawa and his samurai films, well, I had to see every one of them. I was so captured by Kurosawa's work and many of his contemporaries, at least what I can get my hands on in the early days of DVDs, that when it came time to make my final project for undergrad film school, I decided to take on the insane challenge of making a samurai film of my own. But production and the fallout was such a near total disaster that it traumatized me out of costume drama and damn near out of filmmaking altogether. But that's a story for another time. Anyway, a few years shortly after, my good friend and painter and sometimes actor Christian Olid Ramirez dragged me back into samurai narratives with the Lone Wolf and Cub manga series. I don't think I've consumed any piece of media quicker. It's one of the most glorious narratives ever conceived, and even more mind-blowing when you discover the insane pace that Kazuo Koike and Goseki Kojima worked at. 8,700 pages, over 145 installments, something like 30 published pages a week. And if you've been following the Rental Report review for any time at all, you've heard me mention time and again how quickly the majority of Japanese films were made in the post-war era. It wasn't uncommon for 4 weeks from scripting to screen. I don't know what the specific schedule or budget was for these, but all 6 films came out in January 72, April 72, September 72, December 72, August 73, and April 74. Yeah, 6 action-packed historical samurai epics in just under 2.5 years. This shouldn't work, but it does. Mostly. I give Lone Wolf and Cub Sword of Vengeance 3.5 stars. I'm revising it down slightly 1/4 star. Now having seen the whole run, there are definitely much higher highs and a couple of notable lower lows. I love the immediacy of the production, mostly helmed by Kenji Misumi. The constraints are enabling creative, cinematic, poetic solutions, but it's slightly rougher going in this inaugural episode. But the one thing absolutely aided by that quick churn is that Daigoro gets to be played by one actor, the inimitable Akihiro Tomikawa. Equal parts innocent and wise with steely resolve and a 1,000-yard stare. Four of these 6 films were directed by Kenji Misumi, and for my money, he's the best of the trio. I don't know much about his career outside starting and working within the Zatoichi series. I've seen all too few of those and probably need to do a complete run of all 25 at some point. Might have to break that one up a little bit. Misumi's superpower is that he not only understands Chandra action, he understands how to communicate perception of his character, on and off the camera, and of the camera itself, of the audience, a skill of paramount importance when portraying a blind swordsman or Ogami Ito and Daigoro against a menagerie of vengeful evildoers stalking in the periphery of shadows.
三途の川で母が待っている。
Ito and Daigoro have been cast out of their homeland and are accepting their path, their mission to avenge the loss of their wife and mother and restore honor to their family. It's a treacherous path of constant vigilance, communicated eloquently through Misumi's balance of stillness and silence and explosive expressionism. I give Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart at the River Styx 4 stars. Misumi pulls every trick in the book to showcase his assassin and his assassin's attempted assassins. Diverse cinematic techniques mirror and amplify their unique combative abilities. Jump cuts, strategic handheld, superimposition, freeze frames, flares, dollies, snap zooms, whip pans, staged inserts, on and on. But always remembering to come back to the core character differences between the heroes and villains. By this second volume, we're already starting to see what truly sets Ogami Ito apart from his adversaries. He's not only a man of sublime technical skill, he has deep knowledge and wisdom of Bushido, Japan, the people of Japan, his allies and enemies. He never wins by brute force, but by operating within the true spirit of the samurai, intellectually outmaneuvering his enemies. It's the element that makes Lone Wolf and Cub stand head and shoulders above standard serialized action pictures. It's also notable that there's pretty much always a cathartic moment of realization where the monster of the week comes to grips with their failings against the Ogamis and reveres the one-time shogun's executioner and child just before whistling their last spray of arterial splatter. So good. One of the common misinterpretations, what I see as a misinterpretation of these films, is the category error in placing these in trash, lowbrow exploitation cinema. I think that Koike and Kojima were operating in a specific space that we here in the US don't actually play to. Older kids and younger adults able to handle mature material. And by mature, I don't just mean blood and boobs. I mean historical, political, cultural, and spiritually mature material aimed at providing rich lessons for life. But also plenty of gore, dick and fart jokes, and tits and ass. You know, the stuff of life. Of real life. Here in the US, we make movies like RoboCop, albeit a satire by a European, Rambo, Terminator, a Canadian, and pretend that they're for adults and clutch our proverbial pearls when kids sneak into the multiplex or successfully perpetrate a psyop against their parents to score a sleepover rental. Does that still land? Am I too old? We spend so much time protecting and pampering our youth that we wonder why they're so dismayed at the harsh realities of puberty and adulthood. I'm going off the rails here. I should talk about the movie. But I think it's important to take these works seriously on their own terms. To seriously tarry with their themes of honor and redemption, of transmission of wisdom, of openness in a harsh world, of the necessity of the bonds of family and society, of extending human dignity to people of all levels of society, from traffic prostitute to transcendent priest. In this edition, we witness Daigoro take on his father's finer qualities of protecting the fragile humanity of individuals ravaged by the cruel shortcomings of a rigidly governed society by both the official and shadowy centers of power. I give Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart to Hades 4 stars. In other hands than Misumi, I think this could have jumped the shark with the one-man versus an army sequence, but he knows how to build and block an action scene and strip it all back down to a tense personal duel, one of the more poignant of the series. The music really sizzles for me in this one, especially in the Riverside Ninja Assault, and gives so much credence to Tarkovsky's suspicion that synthesizers could offer the most natural cinematic accompaniment and bypass the baggage, heritage, context of so-called classical scores. This is my bastardized take. It's not obvious it should work in a historical epic, but it does. I wish Netflix would do this. I wish any contemporary studio streamer would do this. Make intense, cinematic, experimental, limited film series for the theater. Instead of the decompressed, it really picks up in the second season bullshit that passes for serialized narrative these days. the ubiquitous yet somewhat non-traditional flashback episode. This has been severely truncated, and in doing so, some creative, non-linear maneuvering has clearly had to be done. 4 episodes in, there is a tremendous amount yet to build before even attempting anything like wrapping up. And I think series newcomer director Buichi Saito deploys a few tricks I've rarely to never seen to make this the most enjoyable treasury he can. Here, as the title suggests, the gap is opening between father and son. Daigoro begins to test the self-reliance he's been tutored, but because this sextet of pictures is so compressed, there's nary a time to linger before rushing into the next narrative monster on the road ahead. I think it is no less notable Koike's penchant for strong, complex female characters, villainous and heroic. I mean, this is the very same guy that created Lady Snowblood, after all. Here, Oyuki, played by Michi Azuma, emblazoned with an iconic suckling demon, is a singular foil to both Ogami Ito on his demon path and Daigoro's vague memory of his mother. The three dance together in a fatalistic play between what could be and what inevitably will be. It's one of the more tragic arcs, unfortunately glossed over to reach other connected narrative tissue. However much is crammed in between the flashbacks and ground laying, this 4th film feels like it's treading more water than it would if it had the real estate to run the entire narrative in order as published. That being said, I can't imagine being subbed in for this installment and doing anything more than totally fucking it up. That being said, this felt the most interstitial and episodic of the lot. Even with all the cool characters and duels and interludes, the guild of actors that reveal the whole play of Japanese manners and honor as a corrupted farce to exercise the will of the unworthy and powerful few. What was I saying? I give Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart and Peril 3.5 stars. I think that my main complaint is that this felt aesthetically safer and more traditional than the previous 3. The cinematography by Kurosawa collaborator Kazuo Miyagawa felt dragged out from a previous generation because, well, I guess it was, which was somewhat exacerbated by an often sleepy, classical-ish score. It all felt a bit more like a standard programmer than a somewhat experimental post-new wave action thriller.
支局引き受け500両
Kenji Misumi is back for the penultimate installment, almost split squarely in two between Daigoro and the latest assassination assignment for Ogami Ito that dovetails nearly seamlessly back into the primary narrative of palace intrigue and betrayal by the Yagyu clan. Just when Koike and the filmmakers have established an almost predictable pattern of assassination recruitment for Ito, hunting, dodging, and executing, figural and literal, they switch it up with one of the funnest mission starts I've maybe ever seen anywhere. I don't want to spoil it. And it doesn't stop there. Misumi and frequent collaborator, cinematographer Fujio Morita find ever-inventive and expressive language to visually communicate the film's themes of hidden motives and cornered claustrophobia. The blades gleam, attacking from uncertain vectors. It's just so goddamn lush and gorgeous. I give Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart in the Land of Demons 4.25 stars. By far, my favorite vignette of this chapter belongs to Akihiro's Daigoro. I think Misumi brings out the best in the child actor. He trusts the kid's presence and gaze to deliver the day in a sequence that recalled one of my favorite from Kurosawa's Redbeard, an indefatigable resolve that delivers cosmic transcendence. You can't cheat that stuff. It's one of the best segments in the series and hints at some of the staggering greatness of the manga. Beating this drum again, but in the final exhilarating sequences, Misumi directs Tomisaburo Wakayama deftly to balance the intrigue and action and elegaic solemnity more than his directorial counterparts. He takes the unexpected tack and delivers the unexpected in unexpected ways that never showboats, but places the focus squarely where it needs to be, on the Sisyphean struggle to bring righteous balance to the world. definitely bears repeating from the previous Rental Report review that none of this works. The whole series collapses into absurdity without someone as lethally talented as Wakayama. He's a brooding, no-nonsense, platonic ideal of a badass dad. I wish he had more to do, but what he does do is nothing short of iconic. God damn it. This could have worked, but not this way. At some point, I accepted that the manga was the manga and the movies were the movies, but this is such a wild swerve from where the manga landed that it doesn't invalidate the whole project, but what an absolute missed opportunity. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. I don't know why there was such a gap in the last couple of films to deliver this final installment, other than perhaps scheduling to wait on weather, and Misumi likely stepping off the entire project to handle assignments commitments like Hanzo the Razor. But this is such a rushed fumble. A rushed fun fumble, but a rushed fumble all the same, narratively speaking. Even without reading the 28 volumes of 8,700 pages of narrative bliss, so much goodwill has been brokered over the previous 5 films that this just feels like a sweep to cash in on some growing 70s kitsch and get out of the prohibitively expensive business of costume historical action epics. I don't want to spoil where the books go, but I can tell you it ain't a sled ride into the sunset. I give Lone Wolf and Cub White Heaven and Hell 3.25 stars. Look, it's not all bad, not by a long shot. It still drills into the core issues of sacrifice versus vanity, honor, duty, family, etc. The stark contrast of the Ogami and Yagyu clans are clear and compelling. Ito continually sacrifices himself to save the honor of his family and ensure the life of his son yet to come, while Retsudo sacrifices his children for his self-serving desires. It's a beautiful compliment that the series ultimately fails in delivering a conclusion to, and certainly never reaches anywhere near the transcendence of the manga. I love the escalation into the spiritual and mythical, but the sidestep into James Bonderisms left me with an exasperating sigh of ennui. Maybe it needed one more installment that was brooding and calculating. Maybe it needs 28 episodes on the screen, not at home. Or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. There is an incredible story, somewhat untouched by this series, that I think could still be an international sensation. But like a live-action Akira, Black Hole, or Evangelion, I just fear it has too much financially indebted against it to ever get off the ground now. But maybe that's a good thing. This week, my weekly pick of the week is... surprise! Go pick up the manga. There's nothing I could ever say that gets anywhere near doing it justice. Just go pick it up. It's now compressed into fewer but fatter omnibus volumes pretty much anywhere. Though I think there's still the westernized, flipped versions. Still praying we get a premium right-to-left version sooner than later. This week's bonus feature is Baby Cart in the Land of Demons. In my opinion, this is about the closest we get to the larger themes of the manga series, and is Misumi and gang at their full prowess. But really, the whole thing is worth a long weekend. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram and X to see what movies I'm renting next, and pretty much everything is on my Letterboxd. I am going to go watch some more movies. I hope you do too. Very well.